please rise. The judges of the Court of Appeals and Her Excellency, the Governor of the State of New York. The swearing-in ceremony will now begin. All please be seated.
Welcome, everyone. It's wonderful to have you here to celebrate. This is really sort of one of the happiest days we ever have in the Court of Appeals, the day that we have an investiture for a new judge of the court, today Judge Caitlin J. Halligan. Welcome all on behalf of myself and my colleagues, Senior Associate Judge Jenny Rivera, Judge Michael Garcia, Judge Madeline Singas, Judge Tony Canatero, and Judge Shirley Troutman. We're all delighted to have you here. I want to acknowledge the presence of some people who were very important to Judge Halligan, her family, starting with her husband, Mark Falcone, and their daughter, Anna Falcone. Her father, Jack Halligan, delighted you're here. Her sister, Enid Halligan. Her nephew, David Moyer. And then her uncle, Larry Hochul, her aunt, Mary Hochul, her cousin, Christina Hochul, and her uncle, Mark Hochul. Welcome all. We're so very happy to have you here. We also have a number of other people that I should acknowledge the presence of, and we're delighted to have you here as part of the celebration. Former Chief Judge of this court, Jonathan Lipman. And several former judges of the court, starting with Judge Albert Rosenblatt, Judge Carmen Beauchamp-Saparik, Judge Victoria Graffio, Judge Robert Smith, Judge Eugene Piggott, and Judge Leslie Stein. We also have three of the presiding justices of the Appellate Division, the Honorable Gerald Whalen, the Honorable Elizabeth Gary, and the Honorable Diane Renwick. And we have two of our Deputy Chief Administrative Judges here, the Honorable Deborah Kaplan and the Honorable Edwina Richardson Mendelson. The presiding judge of the Court of Claims, the Honorable Richard Seiss. And from the Attorney General's Office, the Solicitor General of the State, Barbara Underwood. The Mayor of the City of Albany, Kathy Sheehan. From Governor Hochul's office, her counsel, Elizabeth Fine. The President of the State Bar of New York, Richard Lewis. The President of the Albany County Bar Association, Ryan Donovan. And the President of the Women's Bar Association of the State of New York, Susan Coleman. So thank you all for being here and for sharing this day with us and with Judge Halligan. So I failed to introduce the one person here who needs no introduction, the Governor of the State of New York, Governor Hochul. And I wanted to begin my remarks by commending Governor Hochul for two things, one symbolic and one substantive, though both converge to the same point. Symbolically, Governor Hochul has an unbroken track record of attending the investitures of judges of this court, which emphasizes the important role served not just by the Court of Appeals, but by New York's judiciary generally. Substantively, Governor Hochul has not merely written that she intends that the Court of Appeals rise to the national preeminence it held under Chief Judge Cardozo, but in nominating Caitlin Halligan, her actions speak even more loudly than her words. Judge Halligan's record of brilliance, love of the law, and commitment to public service is like something out of a dream. She hails from the small town of Xenia, Ohio, population about 25,000. From there to Princeton, then to Georgetown Law School, where she was managing editor of the Law Review, to a clerkship with one of the finest federal appellate judges in history, Patricia Wald, then to a clerkship on the United States Supreme Court with Justice Stephen Breyer. Judge Halligan has had several stints in private practice in New York, but also served as New York's Solicitor General and as counsel to the Manhattan District Attorney. In her spare time, which she doesn't really have, she taught at Columbia Law School and at Harvard Law School. President Obama nominated her many years ago to serve on the United States Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit, the court on which Judge Wald sat. Her nomination was blocked by charges that she was an extremist, activist judge, to which President Obama responded that Judge Halligan was a victim of obstructionism that puts party ahead of country. I offer a few observations about that episode. First, I can assure you that Judge Halligan is not an extremist, but instead a scholar who follows the law and who firmly understands the limited role of the judiciary in our tripartite system. I'm confident, both from her stellar role in government service and in private practice, and from her work on this court so far, that she will be a model jurist, someone all will point to as an exemplary judge. Second, the federal judiciary's tragic loss is New York's tremendous gain. And it comes because of the opposite of obstructionism, bipartisan cooperation. Although I read in the press that serious consideration was being given to bringing a constitutional challenge to the statute, enabling the governor to nominate Judge Halligan without seeking a new list from the nominating commission, my surmise is that everyone involved recognized that Judge Halligan was an unimpeachable candidate who would strengthen the court immeasurably, would be nominated by the governor and approved by the Senate without question on her merits, whenever that was. And the best way forward for the court and the state was to assure her speedy confirmation to the Court of Appeals. It is hard to describe how much of a difference it makes to have the court back at a full complement of 7 judges. And even harder to determine how much of that is because Judge Halligan is an extraordinary jurist in person, and how much of that is because of the number 7. Judge Halligan speaks first at our conferences, and she is insightful, methodical, highly organized, and flexible. She sets a wonderful tone for our discussions, listens carefully, values the ideas of others, and responds thoughtfully and in a way that fully embraces the name of her hometown, Xenia, Greek for hospitality. She's an absolutely wonderful colleague. But I don't want to shortchange the number 7 either. Judge Halligan is, of course, in the 7th seat on this court. She is the 117th judge to sit on the Court of Appeals. She was nominated by the 57th governor of New York State. She was nominated the 7th time that she was eligible to fill a vacancy on this court. And today, of course, is the 7th of June. But either way, I think we should all thank our lucky stars that Judge Halligan has joined us. And now I'm going to turn things over to the great governor of the great state of New York, the Honorable Kathy Hochul.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you. What an extraordinary day. As you mentioned, this is not my first investiture. I was here to see the elevation, the ascension of Anthony Canataros, Madeline Singas, and my own appointee a year ago, Shirley Troutman. So this is a job, a responsibility as the governor that I take very seriously. This is an opportunity to talk about my priorities as governor, but also have that reflected in the judiciary as a co-equal branch of government, and to take upon myself and the work that's involved in putting names forward. It is a weighty responsibility, knowing that I also stand on the shoulders of many who came before me. previous members of this court have found themselves on the United States Supreme Court, because that is the preeminence that I spoke of when I said I was in search of the very best. And this group of extraordinary leaders, people who take their responsibilities so seriously and have the heart and compassion to lead this branch of government, I want to thank all of them. I want to thank everyone who has said yes, who stepped up, who is sometimes in the line of fire. I know a little bit about that, but it's an incredibly important role. But it's not just what you're doing today, it is the legacy that you're making for tomorrow. Just look at the pictures of the individuals in this room. It's a reminder of the incredible history of 176 years that this court has been in existence, as a beacon of hope for so many people, a place that disputes that can be resolved, but also decisions are made that are going to help foster what New York is known for, our movements, our social movements, how we lean hard into the opportunity to say, this is New York. We lead, we don't follow. So I thank all the other jurists who are here today for what you do. It's also a proud day for your family. For Mark and your daughter Ann, I want to thank them for being at your side. Seeing your mother go through this 7 times was not easy. I know my children can be in the support group with you of what their parents have to go through. But it's a family journey, and I cannot imagine the pride that you must feel right now to see your mother where she belongs, your wife where she belongs, after her dedicating her entire life to serving others. This is her rightful place. And so congratulations to the family, to Dad, and proud Uncle Larry. Keep smiling, everybody. To your wonderful family that supports you and cherishes you. And you grew up in a humble way. We shared our stories about growing up in Irish Catholic families. And it's never easy. Parents were teachers, and people may say, well, of course she was born in Manhattan with a silver spoon in her mouth. No, she came from a rural part of an interesting state, sometimes known as a battleground state, the state of Ohio, where she's able to hear different points of view and grow up in a diverse world where people are not always thinking the same way. And I think that was an important part of who you became, that upbringing in a place like Ohio. But also I want to make sure that the work that's being done here with the elevation of Caitlin Halligan to this position continues in the vein that it always has throughout our history. This is what's most important to me, that people continue to look at this court. As we deal with the challenges, they may seem minor to some, but for every person who comes before this bench, this is their day in court. That means something in our nation. It means something in our democracy. So cherish that role, continue to add your voice in it. I'm not going to go through your bio because the Chief Judge already did that so eloquently, but this is a time in our state's history. We'll be judged by what we do from this day forward. And I'm really very excited about seeing the decisions that are rendered, but also seeing your place in history, all of you, all of the place that you'll have in history. And I also want to talk about our new Chief Judge, who there's an investiture a little further down the road, right? Took a little more time to plan that one. But my view is it's with the elevation of Caitlin Halligan and this Chief Judge, we are elevating the stature of this court. In a very short time, we have put it back where it belongs, with all the individuals who've already been here, and new blood and new ideas and new perspectives. I want to make sure that we continue to be the place that people know is nothing but the best. So thank you to everyone who's here today. I know that this is going to be a great day for justice. It's a great day for history, and it's certainly a great day for Caitlin Halligan and her family. So thank you, everyone, for being part of this momentous occasion.
Thank you, Governor. And now comes the sort of little bit of official work we have to do. If I could ask Mr. Falcone to come up. I did that myself. And then repeat after me, please. I, Caitlin Halligan,
I, Caitlin Halligan,
do do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States
to uphold the Constitution of the United States
and to uphold the Constitution of the State of New York,
and to uphold the Constitution of the State of New York,
and to fulfill the duties of the office
and to fulfill the duties of the office
of Associate Judge
of Associate Judge
of the New York State Court of Appeals
of the New York State Court of Appeals
to the best of my abilities.
to the best of my abilities.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And if you'll all remain seated for just 1 second, all I need to say is that concludes really one of the happiest and most propitious days we have here. There is a reception almost directly across the street, immediately following at the State Bar Association. No, Chief. Oh, I'm sorry.
I think
I am new to this job. I'm sorry, Judge Halligan.
Chief Judge Wilson, thank you for that generous introduction, for the opportunity to add a few very brief comments. I know we would like to get across the street to the Bar Association. My husband suggested to me that I find something humorous to say, which is not always my strong suit, but it sounds like we've taken care of that now. Thank you for swearing me in today, and for the warm welcome that you and each one of the other judges of this court, Judge Rivera, Judge Garcia, Judge Singas, Judge Canataro, Judge Troutman, I hope I haven't forgotten anyone, have all extended to me. The deep commitment that each of you has to this institution and the care you bring to its work were apparent to me during the years I spent on the other side of this bench and are even more so now. You have been so gracious and patient in helping me navigate this transition. I am grateful for that, and I really look forward to working with all of you and to our friendship in the years to come. Governor Hochul, I am so honored to be here today and especially to have you with us. As our first woman governor, you are a path breaker, and as a mother to a daughter, I know how much it means to girls across the state to see you in this role. I am grateful to you and to your incomparable staff, especially your counsel, Liz Fine, for the confidence you placed in me when you decided to appoint me to our state's highest court. I also want to thank the members of the Commission on Judicial Nominations, some of whom are here today, and particularly Hank Greenberg, the Commission's counsel, for the work they devote to this process and for their thoughtful deliberations. Likewise, I appreciate the time that members of the State Senate Judiciary Committee, led by my own Senator, Brad Hoylman Siegel, took to speak with me in considering my nomination and for their decision to confirm me to this position. We are joined, as Chief Judge Wilson said, by a number of former judges of this court: Chief Judge Littman, Judge Siparek, Judge Rosenblatt, Judge Graffio, Judge Smith, Judge Piggott, and Judge Stein. I believe Judge Levine had hoped to be with us today as well. I have had the honor of appearing before each of you in this courtroom many times. Indeed, I still have a distinct memory of my first time at this podium. I was nervous and truly thrilled to stand up in front of you and say that I was representing the state of New York, an honor that never lost its luster. just when my oral argument time was winding down and I thought I had sidestepped the toughest question in the case, Judge Levine looked up and honed right in. You have each taught me how important it is to bring careful preparation, an open mind, and attention to real-world consequences to the work of this court, and I hope to do the same. Each of those times I came before the court as an advocate, I saw the same view that is before all of you in our beautiful courtroom today, and the governor mentioned it. The portraits of the earliest judges to sit on this court, including John Jay in the middle and Benjamin Cardozo. Well, the view from this side of the bench is strikingly different in a few ways. So far, no one has asked me a question, quite a break from the vigorous exchanges I faced during my years as an advocate here. But it's also different in an important respect that I hope and believe must spark the imaginations of our young people and broaden who it is that imagines they might someday aspire to this role. Looking in this direction, I see the portraits of our most recent judges, some of whom are with us today, and with them, the diversity that I am glad to say is now the hallmark of our court. Among them, and right in the middle, is Chief Judge Kaye. She was an extraordinary leader of this court and a very generous mentor to me. Her pride in clear writing that told you not just what the legal rule was, but why that was the right result. Her commitment to ensuring meaningful access to justice for everyone in the state, and her devotion to this court in particular, she left no doubt about any of that. When I took the bench, the day after I was confirmed, the clerk of the court offered me Judge Kaye's robe to wear, which I have on today, quite an auspicious way to begin my service on this court. And I do plan to add some red shoes as well. I also want to thank the tremendous staff of the court, especially our clerk, Lisa LaCourse, and Ann Beyer, who put this wonderful event together, and everyone else who works in this building, lawyers, court officers, and staff. I especially want to thank Kristen Kenny and Jennifer O'Friel for sharing their expertise over the past 6 weeks, as well as my new clerk, Maura Smiles, and Debbie Wasserback, who has helped me get settled in. I am delighted and honored to see an array of friends and former colleagues, and I have really been blessed by a great deal of overlap in those categories. That includes dear friends from college, law school, and my time clerking, alums from my 8 years in the New York Attorney General's office, from the Manhattan District Attorney's office, from my time in private practice, most recently at Selendi Gay in Ellsberg, and especially a treasured client or two. I have worked alongside many of you on issues we care deeply about, and I am so grateful for your wisdom, guidance, and support. Most of all, I want to thank my family. My mother left us way too soon, but I know she is with me in spirit and represented by both of her brothers and their families today. My father is here, a teacher who taught me the importance of finding work with meaning that allows you to make a difference, which this surely is. My sister and my nephew, who have come a long way to join me today. My in-laws, both gone now, but wonderful neighbors, babysitters, and dinner companions for 25 years. And especially my daughter, Anna, a college student who is eager to devote her own talents to the public good, something that fills me with tremendous promise about our future. And of course, my husband, my best friend and steadfast supporter. It was 25 years ago that he persuaded me to join him in New York. I told him I would come for just 1 year, since it would surely be impossible to find interesting and rewarding legal work here in this great state of New York. Obviously, I was wrong about that. Part of what makes the opportunity to serve on this court so extraordinarily meaningful is that I've practiced here for more than 2 decades. I keenly understand how much the court's decisions matter to people across the state every day. What I have learned already over the past 6 weeks is that, yes, the work is important, and also that it is challenging. It can be hard to decide close questions with real practical implications for lots of people, and then to draft an opinion that explains why in clear and plain-spoken terms. Justice Cardozo, when he sat on this court, wrote about this task of learning how to be a judge. In my first years on the bench, he said, I was troubled to find how trackless was the ocean on which I had embarked. I was trying to reach the solid land of fixed and settled rules, but found the quest for it was futile. In cases that will count for the future, he concluded, the most that you can hope for is that with long thought and study, with years of practice, and with the aid of that inward grace which comes now and again, the analysis may help a little to make the synthesis a true one. So that is what I hope for. I have benefited from powerful examples who more than lived up to Justice Cardozo's aspiration. Judge Kaye, a role model for all of us, along with both of the judges I clerked for. Judge Patricia Wald, who, like Judge Kaye, was the first woman to sit on her court, and Justice Stephen Breyer. Each of them taught me that the opportunity to serve the public in this way is an extraordinary privilege, well worth bringing your very best game every day. And many of you here today have taught me that as well. With that in mind, I will look to do the court's work with fairness, integrity, and principle to the best of my ability, as the oath says. Thank you all so much for coming and joining me on this day. And as the Chief Judge said, we invite you all to join us at a reception across the street at the State Bar Association.